All my life, I've only ever had one photo connecting me to my past. It's of my birth mother. It was taken shortly after I was born. That day, she was forced to give me up because I was an illegitimate child. For 28 years, I've wondered what's happened to this lady with the sad eyes who never got to see her baby grow up.
Kolkata, the city at the heart of international adoption in India. Hundreds of its children have been adopted by families in Britain.
Look at me there, Shirley Temple. This is my Auntie Angie's house in Sydenham.
2 women are now returning to the city of their birth, trying to find the mothers they left behind.
Yvonne Fernandez.
I remember Gregory.
Gregory, yes, that was my brother's name. And she gave me up to try and give me a better life. So I owe her everything, really. I just hope she's still alive.
This journey will take them back to their roots.
Do you think it's up, down that way?
This is my birth mother.
Take everybody's information with a grain of salt.
It is a search for the truth about who they are.
Did you take fake photographs of
Not that, I
women?
just cannot say.
I should have done this trip 10 years ago. If I'd just done it then, I would have been okay. I would have been on time.
Now, I'm quite confused by everything, completely lost. I just don't know where to go from here.
Carrot, shoes off. Have you done your homework?
Yeah. Can I play Xbox?
Okay, you can have half an hour. This is the all-important folder. My name is Terry, and for most of my life, the only thing I've known about my birth is that I was handed into Mother Theresa's orphanage in Calcutta when I was 9 weeks old. That's a nice shot of me as a 2-week-old. The only thing I have connecting me to my biological family is a single document from the orphanage. This is an affidavit, and there's a bit here that says, the child, Theresa Kirsten, is an unclaimed child who has also been abandoned by her people, and there is no one to claim the child in future. So when I read that, I felt quite tearful about that, because, you know, it's the wording of it, been abandoned by my people. And that's how I felt growing up. I felt very abandoned. I just wasn't wanted at all.
Theresa, or Terry, was given up for adoption after her birth father died. She is now an actress and mum living in Surrey.
This photo is of my children. This is Chloe and Luca. I want my children to know that they were very loved, always. There was never any doubt in their mind how much their mother loved them.
Terry's adoptive father was from England and her mother from Trinidad. They brought her up as an only child in South London.
She was in Calcutta when she first started to walk like that, you know. One with my husband proudly clinging onto his daughter. She was mine from the day I saw her. Wanted her to be a normal child, to live happily with us as a family.
Terry's childhood was a busy schedule of dance classes, modelling shoots and figure skating competitions.
This is one of Terry's skating dresses. And she looked lovely on the ice. She looked beautiful in this, like a little princess. She finished skating when she was 16. She wasn't really very happy because she has an identity problem, you know, who she is, her roots, really, to be quite honest.
For 42 years, I've kind of lived in the shadow of my adoption. I've pushed people away if I thought they were getting too close. But last year, my whole life changed completely. And a whole different story of my past was revealed.
Hello and welcome to The Chase. Can a team of total strangers beat one of Britain's finest quiz brains and take home thousands of pounds? Let's find out and meet them.
I'm Terry, I'm 40 and I'm an actress from Surrey.
And if you won some money today, what would you do with it?
Well, I was actually born in Calcutta and I was given up for adoption to Mother Teresa's orphanage, so I would like to use any money that we do win to go there to try and trace my birth mother and to give some money to the Hope Foundation, who do a lot of work out there.
Right, good for you. Terry, I wish you well.
After appearing on that show, somebody contacted me and said, your birth mother didn't abandon you. In fact, after she'd given you up, she came back a couple of times to see you. And, you know, she loved you.
The person who phoned Terry was Philomena Srivastava. She worked with Mother Teresa. Philomena and her husband Vijay looked after Terry when she was born.
I was volunteering at the orphanage and I actually saw Teresa's mother leaving the building after visiting her daughter, and she had with her one of Teresa's siblings. Her mother didn't have the capacity to keep her because her husband had died and she had no way to support another child. It's just not true that she was abandoned, not at all. She was loved, and the lady came back to visit her.
By chance, Philomena and Vijay now live only 10 miles from Terry.
Hi! You okay? Yeah.
We had Therese with us when she was 2 weeks old. She stayed in our house till she was about 7 months old, before she came to England.
Vijay and Philomena told Terry that she had 3 siblings and a mother called Yvonne Fernandez.
I always felt a bit of responsibility, but when we met up after 42 years, and Therese was talking about trying to go to Calcutta, I said, I will make it my mission to try and find everything about your biological parents and your siblings.
Knowing how emotional the search could be, Vijay is accompanying Terry on her return to Kolkata.
I feel so bad thinking one thing for the whole of my life, thinking I was abandoned, she didn't love me, she didn't want me, when actually that is the complete opposite to actually what happened out there. And I need to make that right. I have to try to find her, to tell her that I understand how hard it was for her. And I understand why she had to make that decision and that it's okay.
Kolkata has always been the centre for international adoption in India. Since colonial times, it's had a large Christian community, and the city's nuns have sent thousands of babies to new homes abroad. Some were given up because of poverty. Others were the secret babies of unwanted pregnancies.
My name is Leila. I'm 28 years old and I was adopted from Calcutta when I was 3 months old.
You're going to be hot. Is it Monday? You especially are going to be hot.
And I'm going to a place where I've never been before in my life, and obviously...
You have been there? You were born there?
Well, yeah.
That you don't remember?
But I don't know, yeah.
Leila was given to an orphanage when she was only a day old. She's always been told that she was the product of a secret love affair.
So this is the photo of my biological mother. My adoptive parents told me basically that she was a domestic worker working for kind of like a rich businessman, and they would have had an affair, made me, but because of the society, she couldn't keep me and she had to give me up, basically. For me, growing up, knowing I was made out of a loving relationship, even though it wasn't an affair, has been kind of almost like a fairy tale story. 2 people meeting, they fall in love, even though there's boundaries. It's a bit like a Disney film, to be fair. So for me, I really like the fact that I could believe in that story.
Leila was brought up in Brighton by adoptive parents who were unable to have children of their own.
My childhood was actually really happy. I also do have a sister who was adopted from Sri Lanka, who I've actually always been incredibly close to, as well as my adoptive parents.
Here we are, top of the world.
I didn't really think about my adoption when I was a kid. To be honest, I didn't feel any different to anybody else. It's only been a couple of years that I've realised that this woman may have been forced to give me up, and she might be thinking that one day I was going to come back to India to find her. So we'll see you in about 15, and I'm going to get the milk, yes. Okay, right, bye.
Leila has never properly looked through her adoption papers, which are still kept at the family home.
Filing box, and I got this from
Are these some extra pictures you've put in?
That's right, I did actually get the pictures organised. So that's the home, the mission of hope.
How many children were in there in total?
Over 100 children.
Really? It's as big as that, was it? Yeah, no, it was a big operation.
Because there were lots of older...
Leila's orphanage was called International Mission of Hope. It specialised in babies born from unwanted pregnancies.
I think maybe these were your day and night nurses, these two people.
Do you know what her name is?
Yeah, Mamata Gupta, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She was a social worker, Mamata Gupta.
Yeah.
The photo of her birth mother was required by British immigration and provided by the orphanage.
All we know that was what we were told, that your dad was a businessman and he was from Rajasthan.
Oh, I didn't know.
Not from Kolkata. And that your mum came from a village that was distant.
She disappeared from the scene by the time we arrived, hadn't she? When you were
So
about
how
2
long
months
was that? Or how long do you think she was with me?
Probably just the day that you were brought to the home. Yeah.
That would have been quite hard for her.
Yeah, very hard for her. We were told that she cried when she had to give you up. Yeah. I know, it's really hard.
Oh, it's a desperate situation
Yeah.
from her point of view.
Maybe I worry a little bit about what she's going to face, because she's quite an emotional young person. But even if it's not a positive outcome in the sense of finding her birth mother, I think for her it'll be just a very valuable experience, being back in her birth country.
Maybe take my medical records. The strange thing, I guess, about being adopted is that you know you could have lived a really different life with completely different parents. Yeah, I'll take these as well. I could have grown up in a completely different country, not speaking a word of English. And as it stands, I've actually never been back to India since I was adopted. I've reached a point where to know nothing about my birth mother feels like a massive void, and it needs to be filled. I want to meet her now. I just want to know what she's like. I'm like curiosity like taken over me. I desperately want to know now.
Kolkata is a sprawling city of 14 million people. It has one of the highest population densities in the world, with thousands of new residents arriving every day. Terry has not been back to India since she was adopted almost 43 years ago.
This has been a long time coming. You know, I was born here and I've never been back. So for 43 years, to finally come back is quite emotional.
So this is Calcutta, hey?
City of joy.
It sounds how I thought it would sound. Noisy, traffic, a don't want to allow myself to be too hopeful, but it would be great to see where I was born. I would love to find my mother, of course, but I know that's a lot to wish for. So I'm trying to be hopeful, but tailor it with a bit of realism as well.
Terry and Vijay are beginning their search in the Christian community she was born into.
Before my birth father died, and she was pregnant with me, they lived number 1 Ramahan Bera Lane.
Okay, so let's see.
It's about here.
Oh, here it is, yes.
Okay.
That will be Rammohan Bera Lane.
Do you know what kind of area that was?
That's
in
quite a poor area, very poor area.
The anticipation of actually leaving the hotel and going out there and starting my search. Will it be bad news? Am I going to find something out that's going to really shock me? I don't know. It's always the fear of the unknown.
Terry's birth parents were Anglo-Indians from a district called Audi Bagan. It is one of the poorest in the city.
I don't have door numbers.
नमस्कार दीदी एक नंबर पता है
वही पर ले लो
अच्छा There we are. Right, shall we?
Ready? Okay.
Come.
Oh my God, this is so dangerous. That says 1H.
Okay, Yvonne Fernandez.
Yvonne Fernandez.
Who lived here
She
quite
lived here
a long
in
time.
1970.
Not gone away. Yvonne Fernandez. I remember Gregory.
Gregory, yes, that was my brother's name.
Yeah. She had 2 daughters.
Yes, I'm her daughter. I was a baby. She gave me up for adoption, Shishu Bhavan.
She was born here.
Yvonne Fernandez. So there was a Fernandez staying over here. Just building outside only they just.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you, sir.
We were looking for Yvonne Fernandez.
Yvonne Fernandez. Auntie Mary will know about it. John! Go, John, take them and go little, please. To Papu's house, go. Thank you. Welcome.
बहुत शुक्रिया आपको.
Vijay.
Hello. We are inquiring about Yvonne Fernandez. And this young lady is her daughter. Come.
Shall we sit?
Yes, sure.
So, I'm looking for my mother, Yvonne Fernandez.
Okay.
She lived...
Yvonne Fernandez.
Yvonne Fernandez, in 1974. She was pregnant with me. And
Yvonne is a very good friend of mine.
Yvonne Fernandez?
Yes.
What, can you remember her husband's name?
Peter.
I know Auntie Yvonne and Uncle Peter. I know your sisters also.
They were my parents.
Oh, no.
And I've come back to try and find her.
She's no more.
Are you
I
sure?
won't tell you, yeah, she's no more. I guess she died about 2006.
Do you know how she died?
We don't know.
I never met her. I wanted her to see that I'm okay. But my siblings, my sisters, my brother, do you know where they could be?
You had 2 sisters or 1 brother, and your brother died also.
What about my sisters? Do you know anything about where they may be?
They are married also.
They're married?
They are married.
But they're not in Kolkata?
They're not in Kolkata.
I have to find them. Thank you so much. Hi, Carlton. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
It's the news that I was dreading. I just feel incredibly sad. I should have done this trip 10 years ago. If I'd just done it then, I would have been okay. I would have been on time. And then who knows, maybe I would have been able to help my mother. I wanted to say so many things to her that I can't. And that hurt is, you just feel it here in your heart. I know that sounds cliche, but it's true. It's like it's a pain that I can't explain. You know? It's that, you know, it's just a hurt.
It's the first day of Leila's search.
I'm a mix of emotions on everything. I'm scared, excited, but yeah, I definitely say I'm kind of nervous because I don't know what the outcome's going to be. The stories that I've heard from growing up have always been nice stories about my adoption, but if I hear anything, you know, that's brand new, that isn't such a nice, happy story, then the stuff I've known for 28 years is going to technically be a lie.
This is amazing already. And this only is open from in the morning. Basically.
Leila is being helped by Ian Forber Pratt, an adoption counsellor who has supported other adoptees in their searches.
No one is looking at me like I'm an outsider. No one cares. They just think of me as like just a normal, average Bengali
just
woman.
Push by you and go and normal,
exactly.
like, yeah.
Oh my God, that scared me.
Ian was also adopted from International Mission of Hope and grew up in America. He's tried in vain to find his birth parents.
My own search was just a lot of kind of just confusion. We were told basically that the IMH records that we had were anything that were given to our parents, and that's it. No father's name, no mother's name, none of that. No signature of a mother, no information or anything like that. I was just put in a basket with 2 other babies and brought over. Okay. That's the basket I was in, like that, just like that. Oh, wow. Yep, head to toe like that, with just a couple blankets on a plane with a nurse.
International Mission of Hope, or IMH, had a reputation for helping unwed mothers who'd been forced to give up their babies because of social taboos. It sent more than 4,000 children abroad, mostly to America. Very little paperwork was provided to adoptive parents, and when IMH closed in 2003, nobody was able to trace its records. Leila was one of the few babies adopted to Britain, where immigration demanded a full set of papers.
You are so far the first IMH adoptee that I've talked to that has enough information to search.
Yeah.
No IMH adoptee that I know of has ever found their birth parents.
Really? How many people have you helped?
I don't know, probably in between 60 and 100.
60 and 100?
Yeah.
And none of them had found their birth parents?
None of them have had even a name.
Yeah.
Or even anything, really. What I think is that paperwork and the background of children was not a priority. Yeah. And children were taken in and taken care of and then sent out again.
So down here?
Yep. Down 1 block and to the right.
Okay.
Okay.
The starting point for Leila's search is 1 Palace Court, the address given as her birth mother's home.
Well, to me, they kind of look like apartments. So maybe she was living here at some point.
So let's just see.
But I'm nervous in case, like, it's 1 Palace Court and she just opens the door.
Yes, I mean, let's see what happens.
4. Oh, 1.
Right. Bharat Scouts and Guides.
Guides? Is that like Scouts and Guides that you'd have in England?
Right.
Okay. So this is the kind of office for them?
Maybe. Yeah, it was with good authority. Very nice.
It's a bell, no?
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
I don't hear anything yet.
I don't think anyone's here.
Yeah. Well, should we try next door?
Yeah.
All right, let's see if anyone's there. Well, let's see. Okay. Hello, Bia. We are looking for one palace court. This young lady, Leila, has come from the UK, and she was adopted from Kolkata. On her paperwork, we have her birth mother's name, and underneath her name, it says one palace court. Right.
Has that always been a Scouts and Guides, like, office?
It's for long times, maybe more 30, 40 years.
Okay.
It's a good operation. It's a very good cause. I mean, this is not a bogus company.
This is just really bizarre because the documents are really clear that this is where my mother had lived. These documents would have come from the orphanage, so I don't know why anyone would put a wrong address down for someone's mother. If this was a place where my birth dad was from, and he had an apartment here where my mother was working, then yeah, he must have been quite well off. It's all confusing now because we've just gone in to see, and it was like a girl guy thing, which is kind of put everything off, I'm sure.
For many adoptees coming back, they've got this kind of fairy tale or whatever story that they've come up with, and they haven't truly examined it. Everyone wants to feel like they have a happy origin. If that's not the case, then you kind of wonder, okay, so those building blocks, the origins of where I came from, if those are kind of shaky, then what is my life and what am I standing on?
Knowing that I was born a product of an affair has been really reassuring and comforting to me. I think now, knowing that it might not be true, that everything you've been told as a child growing up might not be real. It just makes everything so uncertain in my life now. I don't really know where to go from here. I'm quite confused by everything.
Well, I've had a few days now to process everything that I've found out. That's all still really upsetting, but I'm not going to do myself any favours to keep dwelling on that. So I have to move forwards now and see if there's any other information I can find, or whether or not I can manage to trace my two sisters.
Terry knows her family were Anglo-Indians, a community that began in imperial times when thousands of British soldiers lived in Kolkata.
And those early days, there were no European ladies in India. So the soldiers and the officers, they married local girls. The product of that liaison was the Anglo-Indian community. If you're looking for any Anglo-Indian person, the logical place to start is the parish church.
To find Terry's sisters, they are visiting the church that holds the marriage records for the local district.
It's 85.
Is this it?
She's 20 years old.
And this is her address?
Yeah, Lavinia House.
One sister was living in a home for impoverished women at the time of her marriage.
Where's the details of her husband?
Yeah.
His husband is there.
So she was 20 and she married a 45-year-old?
Maybe he was looking for a bride or something and so chose her.
Right. So perhaps it was a way for her to have
Yeah.
Good life.
Proper home.
Proper home.
Proper
with a
family
professional.
life.
Yeah. I can see that.
On her sister's marriage certificate is the address they were living at 32 years ago.
Do you think it's up down that way?
No,
No?
it should be somewhere here. Let's have a look.
This does not look affluent and middle class.
Is
it there? Oh man. Is this it?
It's on the 4th floor, he says.
Oh my God, I don't want to knock.
Here's the bell.
I'm looking, I wondered if you knew the Nan family. Are you the Nan family?
Yes.
You are? I'm looking to try and find my sister.
We don't have any connection with them, you know.
My sister married...
We don't have any connection here. They don't stay here.
No, I know, but do you know where I made...
We don't have any connection. We don't know the address also.
Okay. Clearly, we touched a nerve, you know? She was very quick to say, we don't know them, we've got no connection to them. Okay, but if that was true, you would just say, oh, yeah, sorry, we don't know them. Why react like that? It's a very strange reaction to have immediately to two people who are coming in peace, you know, to talk to them. There's no need for it. Doesn't look like my sister's had a very easy childhood. There's a lot of poverty here. And seeing the community that my family were part of makes me really realise now how poor my family must have been. It's a world that I could easily have been part of myself if I'd not been given up for adoption.
The following day, Terry and Vijay visit the graveyard where her parents are buried.
Oh, that's Gwen Fernandez. She was buried in our Taligan cemetery, 22nd of December 2005.
What is this?
That was where she was at the time of her death. Nirmal Hriday Home. It's a home run by the Missionaries of Charity, by Mother Teresa.
Yvonne Fernandez died in a home for destitute women who had nobody to look after them.
Maybe these sisters of this Missionaries of Charity picked her up from the streets in a distressed condition or something like that, took her into the home and kept her under their care, where she eventually died.
It's not even that she's died, Vijay. It's how she died, all by herself, in a home of the lost and the destitute. I hope she's in a better place now. I need to go and see her. Where is she? What does this mean, Dayadan?
ये कौन सा है?
Why is her name not there?
बेवारिस लोग का। अच्छा। बेवारिस means they have nobody and they are brought in here and buried here.
It's just a mess. She has no gravestone. She doesn't even have her name on it. It's like an unmarked grave.
सिस्टर लोग बेरियल करा के चला जाता है, हम लोग नंबर भर के रख देता है.
He says that nobody ever comes here.
I don't want this to be her grave. I would like to see where my father is. I can't see the name.
ये वाला?
This is Mukherjee.
इस पर मुखर्जी नाम लिखा है.
It's Fernandez.
और नाम नहीं है तो इसमें नाम दूसरा है तो.
Fernandez, Peter Fernandez.
बेरियल करा दिया, कैसल का है देखिए.
This isn't my father's grave. That's not his name.
Yeah, I know. What he says, for years nobody came. And so in 2008, the Christian Burial Board sold the plot.
What?
They sold the plot because it didn't belong to your father. They had just buried him here.
So where is my father?
He's buried below this person's grave.
It's worse. So
Because
someone else is buried on top of my father?
that according.
And my father has no headstone?
No.
Why?
Because from the time he died,
But it doesn't matter if nobody comes. You can't do that. You can't sell somebody's burial plot because nobody comes. What if there is nobody to come? That's so disrespectful. I can't cope with this. I feel horrible now. This was the worst possible outcome. And where were my sisters? Why weren't they there? I feel cross. I feel angry at them. No matter what happens, you don't let your mother die like that. And now I'll never get the chance. I'll never get the chance to look after her. Make sure that her last days are better than the life that she'd had. Because that's really what I wanted to do. And now I won't get the chance.
Leila is on the second day of her search.
Hello.
And Ian's found someone who knows the nurses from the orphanage.
Thank you. Hi, it's nice to meet you.
It's lovely.
Michelle Harrison is an American doctor. She also adopted a baby from International Mission of Hope.
First of all, this is a picture of my birth mum.
Okay.
And her name is Krishna Barman. It's always been nice for me to have an image of her ever since I was a child. So I've grown up knowing what she looks like.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think she looks like me?
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
This is me at the IMH hospital.
Do you recognize any of these faces?
They all look familiar.
And this is Mamata Gupta.
Oh, yeah. Go, Mamta Auntie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you met her? Have you seen
I know her very well.
Oh, you know, even now you know her very well?
Even now I know her very well.
Amazing. Because I feel like she'll have a lot of answers for me.
Yeah, it's mixed.
Yeah. In what way is it like?
I'll put it straight. It's a very closed society. It's very money-oriented, so take everybody's information with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
10 years ago, Michelle tried to find her daughter, Cece's, birth parents. She used the IMH nurses, or Masis, to help her.
We had a picture of a Masi
holding Cece. We came back, and then this old woman comes out holding the picture, sobbing. I told my daughter her baby would come home.
Yeah.
Okay? And we were hooked. And over the next 2 years, we became very close to them. So I bought them a small house. I sent the kids to school. And Cece, at the same time, was learning Bengali. And one day we were here and she heard something that didn't make sense. She said, "Mom, something's not right." So we confronted the family. The mother finally confessed and said, "It's true, I'm not her mother, and Cece wasn't related to this family." When you're vulnerable, they get you.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You have to have the truth, even if the truth means you don't know anything.
Yeah. I don't know, I just find it just so hard to believe that people would do things like this just in life, and to like children, and to like people who genuinely want to come back and are trying so hard to find anything, any information. It's taken like a whole new turn, this, from what I thought I was coming out with. But deep down inside, a tiny bit of me wants to believe my adoption story is still true. I need to meet with these other people and see what they have to say before I make any kind of like final judgment.
Later that day, Leila begins meeting people connected with her orphanage.
Hello?
Hi, Dolly. Hi. Know of her anyway.
Each time, she tells them her adoption story with the picture of her birth mother.
থাকতো না কোনো মেয়ে যে ওখানে থেকে ডেলিভারি হয়ে বাচ্চা দিত না ওইরকম কোনো দিন হতো না আমাদের ওখানে
Some point I see.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe working with the children, or maybe it's working the kitchen.
None of them recognize her story of a rich businessman and his domestic servant.
Maybe Krishna Barman was a made-up name.
Maybe it is a family that she was working with, where maybe that surname is right and Krishna is right. Maybe Barman is just made up.
Yeah.
Or the whole thing is made up.
Yeah. So it's almost like no one wants to be found.
The last person on her list is a nurse who worked at IMH for 15 years.
Yeah, this is my birth mother.
Oh.
And this is her name's Krishna Barman.
না না এটা
কৃষ্ণা
কৃষ্ণা না
আচ্ছা
জিজ্ঞেস করে আমাদের কিচেনে এতে স্টোরে করতে স্টোরে
ये उनकी बेटी
Me? Did you see her give birth to me?
নে না তোমার মা না
She's saying I'm not.
না
Yeah, she's saying I'm not her child.
না এই সেদিনে বাচ্চা হয়েছে
I'm just very confused because it's not being, I don't know what she's saying. Right now, in these last couple of days, I've definitely felt very confused. I kind of came here thinking one story, and yet now it's more and more like, is this story true? You could ask me now, what do I know? And I can honestly tell you I don't know what is like the truth, what is this actual story of my birth mum. Is she actually my birth mum in the photo? Is that her real name? Like, I just don't know.
All of this truth or whatever that Leila is learning is not pretty. But it is very typical for so many adoptees out there in the world. International Mission of Hope hid the identities of birth mothers. And some of us were given absolutely no information. Others were told a story. The issue with that story is sometimes it's more dangerous and hurtful, because when you stop believing it, you have to start asking yourself what is really true.
The next day, the doctor who signed her adoption papers tells a very different story about the mothers at IMH.
So have you had anyone else come back to you
Lots.
before? Loads.
Oh, a lot of you young ones trying to find their roots.
And has the other adoptees' stories been similar to mine, where the mother had to give up her child?
Yeah, sometimes they are 14 and 13-year-old, the mothers.
Yeah.
People have molested them and they have become pregnant.
Yeah. And you've met people, adoptees, that's happened to?
Yeah.
And you know? Okay.
We have so many.
Yeah.
So many of these poor little kids. I mean, when you see them, it breaks your heart. A 13-year-old doesn't know half the time what's happened.
Yeah, that's made me I don't know, that just breaks my heart to hear like stories like that. Like, I mean, I just think it's like horrific that that could happen to someone, and then they have to give up their child, even though maybe they didn't want to, but because of the circumstances,
True.
it was just seemed to be the right thing to do. I don't know, it's just horrible.
Yeah.
That like literally broke my heart to have to give up the child. Like that's really sad for me to hear. Sorry, can I just stop? I don't want to. It's like too hard. So right now I'm feeling completely lost. Today's events have kind of put a massive spanner in the works. It's just really horrific for me to think that those things happen here. It makes me really sad. And I'm almost wondering, you know, could that have been me?
It's been 4 days now since I found my mother's grave, and I've run out of leads for my sister, basically. Nothing seems to add up, literally. And really, I can only conclude that something happened in my family that caused everything to fall apart. And my mother was the main victim.
Terry has run out of time. Today she is returning to England with no answers as to why her mother is buried in an unmarked grave.
When you're adopted, before you start your search, you never really think about time running out. In a strange way, you sort of imagine that people's lives have paused at the moment right before you left them. You dream that when you go back, you'll find them, you know, sort of at that point, and then everything will be unpaused. But time has passed, and I've missed the opportunity to ever meet my mother alive. I'll never be able to look at her face or see me in her or see her in me. I'll never have memories of her that I can cherish. I just have this terrible sense of regret that I never came earlier.
Leila is still no closer to finding her mother. She has one last meeting with Mamta Gupta, the IMH social worker.
I've written down some questions that I want to ask Mata Gupta. I guess I just need to know, are these documents fake or real? Because if someone told me something really bad had happened, I could deal with it at this present time rather than, not knowing and not being able to move forward.
Michelle Harrison believes that Mamta Gupta knew IMH was faking birth mothers' identities.
Hi. Oh, nice. Oh, nice. Nice to meet you.
Okay. So this is my birth mom, Krishna Barman. And do you recognize her at all?
Krishna Barman. I do not exactly remember.
Mamta Gupta, were you responsible for changing the names of the birth mothers to fake names?
There's a possibility.
Was it a common thing for you to do to help with that?
To help hide their identity.
Right. They do, but in this case, I don't know exactly whether she did not.
We're not talking about this.
Yeah.
It's in general.
Yes, that is social stigma. They are at liberty to change their name.
So the name Krishna Barman, that her name could be fake.
There's a possibility.
So did IMH take fake photographs of?
No, that I just cannot say.
And why can't you say that? Because you don't know, or you don't want to say?
How can I say whether IMH could fake photograph?
Because your signature's on these documents.
When the unwed mother came, did they take a photograph and keep it? The pregnant woman? No.
No.
Okay.
When they're under my care, I was not allowed to ask them to get their photographs.
Unwed mothers never had their photo taken.
No.
But how do I have a photograph?
How can I tell you?
It's because it's the UK.
The UK requires a photograph.
They require a photograph. What I'm guessing is nobody even thought about it until they got this form, and suddenly they needed a photograph. Look in the background of the picture, somebody's just pulled a curtain across. Someone said, we need a picture of somebody, snap, snap.
So is this really my birth mum? Or is
Presumably, if this story is true, no, it can't be.
Yeah, that's what we...
Right,
then this is a fake photograph.
Right.
But I just want to know why. Like, why is this happening? It's so confusing to someone coming back.
No.
Honestly,
Okay.
I'm just so confused right now about everything.
You came from the cesspool of Calcutta adoption. That's all I can say. It's a hard thing because they got babies out, never considering the fact that you'd grow up and that you'd want answers.
It is likely that IMH hid the identities of thousands of unwed mothers to protect their secret pregnancies from ever being revealed. But by doing so, they have prevented thousands of children from ever finding their birth parents.
If it's true and that's not actually her, then I've just been like staring at some stranger for like 28 years and believing in something that's not real. Literally now I'm like got nothing, because if that's taken away from me, then yeah, I just got nothing. I just don't have anything. So I'm leaving Calcutta like everybody else adopted from IMH. We are just people who will always be missing the first chapter of our lives, who won't ever know where or how we came into this world. Our stories simply begin when we leave India, even though it is everything that we have come from. For many years, I just believed in something that I wanted to believe in, and I was happy with that. My story of kind of like I was made out of love, it's what I instantly want to believe. If I could just like turn back time and not hear what anyone else has said, then I'd still be really happy knowing, like, having that first ever story that someone told me, because it just sounds nice. It's like the perfect kind of like fairy tale, isn't it?
So I'm in my office, I've just got back home, and I just had the craziest phone call ever. I was at the tennis club actually with Luca, my son. He just finished a tennis lesson, and I got a phone call from someone who I'd met when I was in India, when I was out there filming the documentary. We met quite a few people out there who were helping with my search, and I just had a phone call to say that my sisters have been found.
After a 4-month search, one of Terry's sisters has been located near Kolkata.
How are you? I was very anxious to talk to you.
I'm in shock. I never thought I would find you. Did you know about me? Did you know that?
Yes, we all along knew that we had a sister in England. My mother shared all her secrets with us.
Yeah.
She said I gave her away for adoption. She's in London. Our father,
Yeah.
because you have not seen your father. We have seen our father.
I know, I never met him. He died.
He had a very good personality in him. That's also another story,
Another story. You tell me when I see you.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Over the next week, Terry is able to speak to both her sisters and finally see a picture of her mother.
This photo I've got here, I think, was taken in 2002, which was a few years before she died. It's like someone shaved her head or something and it's just started to grow back. She looks like she's given up on life, you know. I just feel sorry for my mother when I see her in this picture. From what I've been told by my sisters, my mother kind of fell apart after my father died. She had a bad relationship with alcohol. She would probably say she had a good relationship with alcohol, but and again, from what I've been told, she wasn't, you know, she was a bad drunk. She wasn't a nice person when she'd been drinking. So I can just imagine what that must have been like for my sisters. I think both my sisters did what most young women do and got married and, you know, started a new life. So I was the lucky one, you know.
Knowing the truth heals a wound Terry's been carrying all her life.
I actually have an identity now. I have sisters, I have family. I can look at a photo of my mother that I have now. It is life-changing. It is.